This is pretty cool to be standing in front of a bunch of people and not have to give you that death stare. You know, that kind of I just look over my glasses and you know that it's you, or you feel guilty even though you didn't do anything. I have that available, so just let you know. So I'm Alice. I've been a secondary school teacher for a while in 4 schools now, in the Hutt, in Wellington, in Porirua, and I start a new job on Tuesday in the Wairarapa. It's a little scary. I started off as a history and social studies teacher, and I've taught a bunch of things since. And in my last school and in my new school, I'm deputy principal. And I'm part of the Whitby parish family.
Cool.
So I really believe that working in education is a really big privilege. I get paid to help people believe that they are more awesome and more gifted and have more potential than they ever thought that they did. I get to really geek out about the stuff that I like, and I get to encourage kids to really geek out and find that thing that they want to geek out about, and that's really fun. I get to see staff and students at their very best and at their very worst. In teaching, there are lots of opportunities to see God at work. I'm really grateful for that, but I'm also challenged constantly as to whether I'm doing a good enough job, because if you work with people, you know that the needs never end. I have learnt a little bit about leadership and education. I have a lot still to learn, but I'd just like to share 3 things with you that I've learnt so far. So the first thing I want to share with you is that culture really, really matters, and different cultures and the differences that we have are amazing, and they're part of God's creation. I have taught a little bit in my career, but I will never be able to teach the amount that I can learn from just one young person. And every single young person, in fact every person, from their culture and their background has different ways that God relates to them and different things on their pathway that lead them to God. So for example, there's nothing in my culture that's going to make me care as much and really understand God's creation as the bunch of Kiribati teenagers that we have in Porirua, who really, really understand what it is to care about and love creation and want to heal it. We have, in my previous school, feels weird saying that, we have a lot of refugee families from Colombia and Burma in particular, and their ability to find joy in the things that people with privilege don't even notice is incredible, and that's a real gift that God gives them. And I've taught some more well-off kids as well, and I'm amazed at how young people are willing to abandon their privilege and be generous and set out to change the world because they know that they have that privilege. So I know that I'm a better teacher when I teach the kids in front of me rather than just teaching a subject, and I think it makes us better Christians if we relate to the people around us as within their culture and love their differences rather than despite of their differences. So that's first thing. Secondly, I've learnt that equity and fairness and disparity really, really matter. If you have ever tried arguing with a teenager about anything, from household chores or Wi-Fi access or world peace or anything, you will know that they have a really strong interest in fairness, integrity and justice. And I believe that we owe it to them to be just as passionate about fighting for those things with them and for them as they are. I've been working in a Decile 1 school for the last 5 years, and poverty is a daily reality for so many young people. Poverty smells. It's depressing. It leaves you rejected. It leaves you cold. It leaves you anxious. It's unpleasant. And I think from our privilege, sometimes we romanticize that actually it's okay and they'll be fine in the end, but they're not. It's horrible. There's nothing. It really hurts to work with people in poverty, for what, that's a blessing, I think, from God, because then you have to do something about it. But the kid that springs to mind, when I talk about kids, some of them, 18, 19-year-old boys, they're this big. But there are kids who would walk back and forth in front of my office 5 times in a day, and you think, what have they done? Why are they not wanting to go to class? But it's because I have an apple sitting on my desk, and they're too embarrassed to ask for it, but they can't go to class because they know they're going to do something stupid because they're hungry. And that's the reality. And those kids can't do anything about that. They know that it's unfair. They see the disparities more than we ever will. And I think we grow out of that feeling of injustice, and we need to get it back because that's our job as the grown-ups. So I would encourage you to get angry, actually, a little bit about what we do to our kids. The third thing I've learnt, clearly God has needed to teach me this quite a bit, because I started learning it when I was a young person starting to lead youth groups, and I remember being really upset and having a bit of a meltdown because there were 2 kids in my youth group that just wouldn't become Christians no matter what I did. And a good friend of mine who was also a youth leader gave me one of those little cards that you get from Christian bookshops, and it had 2 penguins on it, and one of them's been eaten by a fish, and it just said, "Relax, God's in charge." And that stuck with me since then. And it came back to me again. A friend at school asked me a couple of months ago how I managed to keep calm when breaking up fights or dealing with the ministry or many other things that are part of my job description, sometimes at the same time. First of all, I congratulated myself that I had remembered to brush my hair that day, and then he hadn't noticed how much coffee I was drinking, and felt quite good about that. But I told him that what keeps me sane in my job is being absolutely certain that God is in charge, the corollary of which is that I'm not. And I really believe that being called to work with people is a gift. I am amazed at how much God trusts us with his kids.
Yeah.
How much God trusts us with his people.
Yeah.
So I just want to encourage you this morning.
Yeah.
If you work with people, when they drive you nuts, when you need to count how many days it is until the weekend, how many minutes it is until the weekend, that just thank God that you're part of their journey and that he's in charge and we're not.